There are some core things to think about when speech enabling an application. Those things touch on the language models that you might create, the things you'll teach the system to make sure it recognizes and understands words, which is where most people tend to focus when they start to add speech. But just as important are the things you implement to communicate to the user what your system is doing and what it's capable of. So let's talk about them. The analogy we usually use when we're talking about speech enabling is human-to-human communication and all the nonverbal cues that people use to make interaction successful, like gestures and eye contact and nodding. But even better from an analogy standpoint, it might be human-to-puppy conversation. Puppies are a little bit more like systems in that you have to teach them from the ground up how to interact with humans and what to understand. And on the flip side, when you interact with them, you kind of have to discover what they're capable of. So let's go through the core elements of a successful conversational interaction one by one. The first thing you have to do as a voice interaction designer is make sure people know that they can speak to your system. In the puppy analogy, that's pretty easy. If someone's in the park and they see a puppy near them that seems relatively friendly, you know it's there and you can try to interact with it. So the first lesson to learn in putting speech in is don't bury it, don't hide it, don't make it swipe up, left, right to finally find the speech functionality because people just won't. The next thing is actually starting to engage. With a puppy in the park, you might take a knee or a clap or try to make eye contact, yell, "Hi puppy," to get its attention. With the speech application, there aren't these learned behaviors for getting its attention yet. So as a designer, you have to be very clear. Should the user press and hold a button, or should they tap and release it? Is there a wake-up word that they need to know? Are you using familiar iconography to communicate that this system can be spoken to and how? And then this next one is a little bit less obvious. When is it time to really start talking? With the puppy in the park, you know when you have its attention. Once you clap your hands, maybe it looks at you or stops whatever else it's doing and tilts its head, its ears perk up. You know it's waiting for you to say something, and that's the time when you can start giving it commands. With the speech system, what are those cues going to be? Does it light up once you have its attention and it's listening? Will it sort of spin? Is there a tone? Will it maybe say listening on the screen? And it's not just on initial engagement that those listening cues are critical. Users also need to know when it's not listening because it's busy doing something else, like processing a request. For example, when a puppy is rolling over, you can see it's doing that. You're not going to at the same time tell it to sit. And you also have to let your users know when your system is doing something else and not actively listening. Being clear about when your system is in listening mode is a very critical step. Okay, so finally it's time to actually speak. People need to know what they can say. With a puppy, the basic things that people teach puppies and that other people then try to say are, come here, sit, maybe lie down. With a speech application, it's sort of the same thing. You have to think about what it is that you're building and what are the basic things someone will say to it. For example, if you're speech enabling a TV, there's nothing preventing you from giving it the ability to recognize things like "play me my favorite movie." But when people first walk up to a TV and interact with it, they're going to say much simpler things like "TV guide" or "sports" or maybe "go to channel 5" to see if it understands those. And then if it does, they get more confidence to say more elaborate things. The last part, feedback around understanding. So if someone were to go to the TV and say "guide" and nothing happens, they're going to wonder, did it not hear me? Did it not understand? Can it not do that? What do I do next? Do I try the same word but louder? Do I try different words? Do I try a different command altogether? And they're going to wonder those same things if all your system ever says in response to any kind of error is, "Sorry, I didn't get that." You have to build in specific feedback about what part it didn't get. Did it not hear? Did it not understand? Is it not programmed to do that command? Because ultimately, the difference between a puppy and a speech system is people who are trying to interact with a puppy usually already love puppies. So they're forgiving if a puppy doesn't seem very smart or if it's kind of all over the place and it's hard to get its attention and get it to interact with you. But they don't feel the same way about your system. So your system has to be a really engaging, smart version of a puppy to hook your users. Otherwise, you're going to lose them.